10 ways to clear, cure, and prevent brain fog, coming up in the next 10 minutes. We're going to be looking at cold water, breathing, sleep, how exercise and technology can make your brain fog better or worse, and so much more. This video is packed full of the most important lessons that I've learned from clearing my own brain fog and helping my clients to find mental clarity over the last 5 years. So if you're looking for freedom from the fog, or you want to boost your cognitive function for work or study, then this is the video for you. Let's get into it. Just a quick note to say that I'm not a doctor and this is not any kind of medical advice. If you're worried about your brain, if you're worried about your cognitive functioning, then please speak to your doctor. Okay, let's get into the first brain fog remedy, which is cold water. So cold showers are one of my favourite ways of instantly clearing out any brain fog, getting some extra mental clarity. Cold water helps to reduce inflammation, and it also helps to bring us out of our mind into our body, from thinking into sensing. And this can really help to reduce those anxious and depressive thought loops that we sometimes get stuck in our mind, which really feed into brain fog. So why not start with a 30-second shower and take it from there? A top tip is to slowly ease yourself into the cold water, either moving into it slowly or just gently turning down the temperature until you get to cold. And this way there'll be less of a gasp response, less of a because when we gasp, we're hyperventilating and that can make brain fog worse. So go gently, experiment, and see what you discover. There are some safety considerations here, so please do your homework and never swim in cold water or submerge under cold water without a buddy. So next up, we have the 24-hour no sugar diet. We couldn't talk about brain fog without talking about sugar. Sugar releases inflammatory proteins in the body, which trigger our immune system to kick in, like it's looking to fight off a disease or something like that, and that causes this really inflammatory response in our body, which can really feed into a foggy mind and a lack of clarity. And if you eat lots of sugary foods regularly, this can end up just feeling like a chronic low-level brain fog. This also applies to refined carbohydrates, which release a lot of sugar, things like bread, French fries, white rice. And research has shown that higher levels of sugar consumption correlates with lower level test scores on cognitive function tests. So try removing all of these foods from your diet just for 24 hours and see if you notice a difference. A lot of people do. Occasional sugary treat is fine, but please don't stock up on these foods in your weekly shop. Next up on our list, we have to close your mouth. So when I first meet new brain fog clients, often what I notice is that even before they start speaking, their mouth is open, that they're breathing through their mouths. Now, mouth breathing puts enormous stress on our body. It causes dysfunctional breathing patterns. These reduce blood flow and oxygen delivery to our brain, feeding into brain fog and reducing our mental clarity. Nasal breathing, on the other hand, offers 30 different functions that the mouth doesn't. For instance, it filters out pathogens, it warms and it moistens the air, and most importantly, when we breathe through the nose, even though we breathe a little bit less air, we actually improve gas exchange in the lungs, and we improve oxygen delivery to all of the tissues in our body, including our brain, and that really helps to support mental clarity. So unless you're eating or talking, please keep your mouth closed at all times. Don't worry if you have a blocked nose or if you have nasal congestion. I'll put a link down in the description that'll show you how to unblock your nose. And this brings us on to mouth taping for sleep. So the biggest cause of morning brain fog is sleeping with your mouth open. It increases the risk of snoring, sleep apnea, and insomnia, all of which feed into a foggy brain in the morning, but also diminish mental capacity throughout the day. So it's really important to sleep with your mouth closed. And mouth tape is a really good way of keeping your mouth closed during the night to improve sleep quality and boost your cognitive function. I'd recommend using Myotape. It's really easy to use. It allows your mouth to open in an emergency, so it's much safer than some of the other alternatives. I'll put a link to it down in the description. Contraindications and safety apply here, so please read the instructions before you use it. Now, good sleep hygiene is essential for preventing brain fog. I just want to cover another couple of sleep tips that you might not have heard before to help with your sleep. So the first one is really avoid sleeping on your back. When you sleep on your back, you increase the risk of snoring and sleep apnea. And as we've said, these can really feed into brain fog in the morning and throughout the day. So sleep on your side or sleep on your front. And some people find this just on its own really makes a difference to their sleep. I'd also recommend keeping your phone in another room, charge it in the kitchen or a different room, and in your bedroom, just have one of those old school alarm clocks, and that's going to prevent you fiddling with your phone last thing at night or first thing in the morning, because that's really not going to help. And in fact, let's talk more about phones and scrolling next. Now, the clients I see who are suffering with the most cognitive fatigue also tend to be the ones that are clocking up a lot of screen time. Don't get me wrong, I love technology, I love using my phone, but if you spend every spare minute that you have looking at your phone, then this could be one of the main things that's feeding into your brain fog. Repetitive scrolling can overstimulate our nervous system, leaving us in a mild but constant state of fight or flight. And this can really feed into a state of chronic brain fog. And consuming large amounts of content into your brain can create vast numbers of open thought loops. Your brain becomes like an old laptop that's running too many programs and can't cope. And this can lead to an excessively busy mind, a mind that's just constantly thinking from when you wake up until you go to sleep. And that can really feed into cognitive fatigue. Now, of course, I'm not saying don't use your phone. We all have them and we need to use them. But there are some simple strategies that you can use to spend less time looking at your screen. First of all, you can turn off notifications and badges for apps that keep pulling you back in. For those very attention-grabbing apps, you can also consider just removing them from your phone. Either take them off your home screen so they're less accessible, or just delete them altogether and just put aside 30 minutes a day where you use those platforms either on a laptop or a tablet, and then it's much more intentional. Now, working for extended periods without taking a break is another common cause of cognitive fatigue and brain fog, both in the workplace and also for students who are studying hard. Instead, use a break timer or something called a Pomodoro timer, and this will help you to take regular breaks when you're working on your laptop or while you're studying. I use an amazing app called Break Timer on my laptop, and I've set it up so that every 25 minutes it pops up a message and it reminds me to take a 5-minute break, stretch my legs, do some slow breathing, and that has made the biggest difference to my work-related brain fog more than any other change. You can also set it up so it actually locks you out of your laptop during the break time so that you physically can't do any work. And that's really good for the people who work really hard, the perfectionists who sometimes can't let go of their work, but that comes at the cost of having a lot of brain fog. People like me. Now, physical exercise is a fantastic way to both clear brain fog, but also prevent it in the long term. Working out triggers physiological changes in your body that help to reduce inflammation in the brain. And exercise has also been proven many times to reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression, both of which can really feed into brain fog. So by working out regularly, you can feel better in your mind and be clearer at the same time. But a really big mistake that I see people make when they're working out is that they work out with their mouths open and they get really out of breath. Their breathing is really heavy. This is a kind of hyperventilation that causes all of the blood vessels in your body to constrict. It literally reduces blood flow to your brain. This can cause brain fog for hours after working out. So absolutely get out there and do some physical exercise. It will be really good for your mind and it will be really good for your brain fog. But do it with your mouth closed and work at a low enough intensity that you're not panting, that you're not really out of breath. So initially you might have to reduce the intensity of your workout a little bit, but over time you'll find that you have more power. You'll be less likely to get injured. Patrick McCowan wrote an amazing book about this. It's called The Oxygen Advantage. It's all about breathing in general and especially breathing when you do physical exercise. And I'll put a link to that down in the description if you're interested. Next up is talk less. If you find that your brain fog gets worse when you're around other people, when you're talking a lot, or if you're presenting, then this one could be really important for you. So while connecting with others and talking with others can be really good for our mental health, if we're talking excessively, if we're really talking, maybe laughing a lot, especially if we're not really listening, if we are doing all of the talking, then this can have a negative effect on our body. It causes our blood gases to become unbalanced, our blood becomes alkaline, and this reduces blood flow to the brain, just like working out with your mouth open and getting out of breath. And this can trigger brain fog and anxiety as well. So instead, use these strategies to help you talk less. First of all, focus on listening rather than talking. The people that you're with will really appreciate you giving them your full attention without interrupting them. You might find that you connect with them more than when you're doing all the talking. Next, speak more slowly, speak in shorter sentences, and leave pauses in between. This will also give your listeners time to really take in what you've said. An advanced tip is when you're speaking is to breathe in through your nose rather than your mouth before you speak. So just taking a soft, small, quiet breath through the nose. And this will prevent you gulping in air, like I'm doing while I'm doing this presentation, and will reduce the impact on your brain fog. Last but absolutely not least, we have the breathe light breathing technique for mental clarity. To get enhanced blood flow and oxygen delivery to your brain, try the breathe light breathing technique. This is my go-to exercise to find mental clarity when I'm working on my laptop or before I'm teaching or working with a client. I use it all the time and I teach it to all of my clients. It comes from the Buteyko breathing approach, and it works by gently slowing and softening your breathing so that you breathe about 10% less air than you would normally do. And surprisingly and paradoxically, by gently reducing the amount of air that you breathe just a little bit, just by 10%, you can actually increase the amount of blood that is released into all of the cells in your body, including your brain cells. And this is going to really boost your cognitive function. It does this by using something called the Bohr effect. This is well documented. It's science. People have written lots of books about it. I'll put some in the description. I made a video all about it, and it guides you through the exercise so that you can experience it yourself. And I'll put a link to it here. If it doesn't appear here, it'll be high up in the description. Thanks so much for listening. I'm off for a walk in the beautiful British countryside, and I wish you all the best.